The Magical Apple Tree. Once upon a time, in the world of fairies and kings, lived a selfish man named Toon, who had 3 daughters, the eldest of whom was named Mono, because she had but a single eye. The second was called Stereo, because she was common, and the third, Dolby, because she had 3 eyes. But because her second sister was common in her appearance, she was looked down upon by her sisters, and despised by her father. They gave her coarse clothing, and nothing to eat but their leftovers. Once, it happened that Stereo had to go into the forest to take care of their goat, and she went very hungry, because her sisters had given her very little to eat that morning. She sat down upon a hill and cried. Then there came a good witch and said, "Why are you weeping, Stereo?" "Because I have 2 eyes like ordinary people. Therefore my father and sisters don't like me and give me hardly anything to eat. Today they have given me so little that I am still hungry." "I will transform your goat into a magical goat. Then, every time you say to your little black goat, 'Little goat, give me some beet, give me food which I can eat,' and immediately the goat will start to dance, and a table filled with lovely food will stand before you, of which you can eat as much as you please. And when you are satisfied, you must say, 'Little goat, stop now, please. My tummy is full. Close the treat.'" With these words, the witch went away, and Stereo sings, "Little goat, give me some beet. Give me food which I can eat." And immediately the black goat started her dance, and a table with the most delicate and rare foods were appear upon it. Stereo began to eat, and when she had finished, she said, "Little goat, stop now, please. My tummy is full. Close the treat." And everything quickly disappeared. When evening fell, she went home with her goats and found an earthen dish which her sisters had left her, filled with their leftovers. She did not touch it. The first and second time she did this, the sisters thought nothing of it. But when she did the same the third morning, they became curious, and they said, "All is not right with Stereo, for she has left her meals twice, and has touched nothing of what was left for her. She must have found some other way of living." So they determined that Mono should go with the maiden when she drove the goat to the meadow, and pay attention to what passed, and observe whether anyone brought her to eat or to drink. When Stereo was about to set off, Mono told her she was going with her to see whether she took proper care of the goat. Stereo, however, figured out what her sister was up to, and drove the goat where the grass was finest, and then said, "Come sit down, and I will sing to you." So Mono sat down, for she was quite tired with her unusual walk and the heat of the sun. Stereo sang nicely until her sister went to sleep. As soon as she was in a deep sleep, the maiden had her table out, and ate and drank all she needed. And by the time Mono woke again, the table had disappeared, and the maiden said to her, "Come, we will go home now." So they went home, and after Stereo had left her meal untouched, the father inquired of Mono what had seen, and she confesses that she had been asleep. The following morning, the father told Dolby to follow her sister Stereo. So Dolby told her sister that she was going to accompany her that morning, but Stereo saw through her thoughts, and drove the goat again to the best feeding place. Then she asked her sister to sit down, and she would sing to her, and Dolby did so. Then Stereo began to sing as before. By and by, Dolby closed 2 of her eyes, and went to sleep with them. But the third eye kept open. Dolby, however, cunningly shut it too, and pretend to be asleep, while she was watching, and soon Stereo, thinking all safe, repeated the magic words. Dolby watched all the proceedings, and afterward Stereo came and awoke her, saying, "Let's go home now." When they reached home, her sister told her father she knew now why Stereo would not eat their remaining food. Then the father, with his fury, took a carving knife and killed the goat. As soon as Stereo saw this, she went out, very sorrowful, to the old spot and wept bitterly. All at once, the good witch stood in front of her again and asked why she was crying. She told her everything. "Stereo, beg your sisters to give you the innards of the goat and bury them in the earth before the house door, and your fortune will be made." So saying, she disappeared, and Stereo went home and said to her sisters, "Dear sisters, do give me some part of the slain goat. I desire nothing else. Let me have the innards." The sisters foolishly gave them to her, and she buried them secretly before the door. The following morning, they found in front of the house a wonderfully beautiful tree, with leaves of silver and apples of gold hanging from the branches. As soon as the father saw it, he told Mono to break off some of the apples. Mono went up to the tree and pulled a branch toward her to pluck off the fruit. But the branch flew back again directly out of her hands, and so it did every time she took hold of it, till she was forced to give up. Then the father sent Dolby to do it, but the same thing happened. At last, the father got so impatient that he climbed the tree himself, but he was met with no more success than either of his daughters. Stereo now thought she would try, so Stereo climbed the tree and right away touched the branch, and the golden apples fell into her hands. She filled her apron with them. Her father took them all from her. One morning, the three sisters were all standing together beneath it, when in the distance a young knight was seen riding toward them. "Go away, Stereo. We don't want to have to be embarrassed by you." And they put over her an empty barrel which stood nearby, and which covered some golden apples as well. Soon the knight came up to the tree. He stopped to admire the magical tree, and presently asked to whom it belonged, for he should like to have a branch off it. Mono and Dolby replied that the tree belonged to them, and they tried to pluck a branch off for the knight. But the branches and fruit flew back as soon as they touched them.
"This is very strange, that this tree should belong to you, and yet you cannot pluck the fruit."
While they spoke, Stereo rolled a golden apple from underneath the barrel, so that it traveled to the feet of the knight. When he saw the apple, he was astonished, and asked where it came from. And Mono and Dolby said they had another sister, but they dared not let her be seen. The knight, however, would see her, and called,
"Hey you, come here."
And soon Stereo made her appearance from under the barrel. The knight was baffled at her great beauty, and said,
"Oh my, you have a beauty which I have never seen before. Will you marry me? I can fulfill any wish you want."
"Yes, I will marry you. And yes, I have one condition. If you take me with you. For here I suffer hunger and thirst, and am in trouble and grief from early morning to late evening. Take me and save me." Upon hearing that, the knight raised Stereo upon his saddle and took her home to his father's castle, and afterward he married her, and a very happy wedding they had. The tree still belongs to Stereo, and no one else could ever touch it or cut it. The end. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe our channel and press the bell icon to get future updates. And don't forget to comment.